Have you ever felt like someone was watching you, even when you were completely alone? Imagine walking home on a quiet night, the fog creeping in, the streetlights flickering, and then you see them. Figures standing in the shadows, watching your every move. What do they want? Why are they following you? And when they finally catch up, what happens next? Stay with me as we uncover the chilling story of Sarah's last night and the terrifying figures that haunt the darkness. Trust me, you won't want to look away. The night was darker than usual. The streetlights flickered, casting eerie shadows across the deserted streets. A thick fog rolled in, almost suffocating, hiding something or someone lurking nearby. In the midst of this chilling silence, a scream shattered the stillness. It was Sarah, walking home from the library just like every other night, when something felt wrong. The hairs on the back of her neck stood up, as if an invisible presence was trailing her. She quickened her pace, glancing over her shoulder. But there was no one. Or was there? A sudden chill gripped her, and her heart raced. She looked at her watch, but the time seemed blurred, distorted by the fog. Every step, every shadow felt like it carried a warning. Maybe I'm imagining things, she whispered to herself, trying to shake off the uneasy feeling. But she couldn't. The shadows ahead seemed to shift, to move. It wasn't just the fog. Something was following her. As she turned the corner, Sarah froze. Her blood turned cold. A figure stood under a distant street lamp, tall, gaunt, and cloaked in darkness. It didn't move. It just stared at her. The figure's presence felt wrong, unnatural. "Hello," Sarah called out, her voice shaky. No answer. The figure stood motionless, its face hidden by a hood. But it didn't need to speak. Its gaze, cold and piercing, sent a wave of dread through her. A whisper broke the silence, carried on the wind. "Don't go any further." The voice was calm, yet there was a chilling weight to it. Without thinking, Sarah turned and sprinted, her heart pounding in her chest. She heard nothing but the pounding of her own footsteps as she ran. Faster, faster. Yet, no matter how fast she ran, the figure seemed closer, as if it were right behind her, following her every move. She darted into an alley, hoping to escape, but when she looked over her shoulder, it was still there, standing at the end of the alley. Its hollow eyes fixed on her. She backed into the shadows, but the figure didn't move. It waited. The wind picked up, and the temperature dropped even further. It was as if the cold seeped into her very bones. The figure's gaze burned into her. It was suffocating. "Who are you?" Sarah shouted, her voice breaking. "What do you want?" The figure didn't answer. It didn't need to. Suddenly, the silence was broken by a loud crash. Something, or someone, was moving in the shadows, drawing closer. A sense of doom flooded her chest. Her breathing quickened as an invisible pressure pressed on her. She felt trapped. Then it happened. More figures emerged from the darkness. One after another, they appeared, filling the alley with their presence. They were all cloaked, their faces hidden. Sarah's heart raced as they advanced. She couldn't escape. The alley was too narrow, the walls too high. There was nowhere to run. The figures circled around her, their presence deafening. No words, no sounds, just their cold, unblinking stares. They were closing in. Her mind screamed for her to wake up, but she knew it wasn't a nightmare. These things were real, and they were coming for her. The first figure reached out. Its hand was cold, skeletal, as it grasped for her. And then everything went black. The next morning, Sarah's body was found in the alley. Her eyes were wide open, frozen in terror, her body positioned as though she had been trying to escape. The fog had cleared, but the unsettling feeling lingered. As the authorities investigated, they found something chilling. No one had seen anyone approach Sarah that night. No one had heard her screams. And when they checked the surveillance footage, all they found was static. The alley was empty. No trace of the figures. No trace of her struggle. But the thing about fear is it never leaves. And the thing about these figures, they're still out there, waiting for their next victim. And you, dear listener, might just be the next one to feel their cold, watching eyes.